Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Hi, Chad Franzen here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This message is brought to you by SpotOn. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom-and-pop restaurants. To learn more, go to spoton.com. It's also brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. My guest today is Ken Rice, Chief Operating Officer at Pickleman's Franchising. Pickleman's is an upscale fast casual sandwich shop franchise committed to serving fresh, high-quality food. Ken leads a team that is spearheading the expansion of the Pickleman's franchise, with nearly 2/3 of its franchisees developing more stores. They expect 20 to 25 additional units over the next 5 years from internal growth. Pickleman's has seen a 14.57% same-store year-over-year growth. Ken is also a U.S. Army veteran who has earned 2 Army Commendation Medals, the Army Achievement Medal, Presidential Unit Citation, and the Good Conduct Medal for his service, which we definitely appreciate. Ken, I appreciate your service and your joining me today on the podcast. Thanks so much.
It's a pleasure, Chad. I'm glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Hey, tell me, how did you kind of get into this kind of franchising scene?
So, I guess I'd have to take a step back. How did I get into restaurants as a whole? I began when I was about 13 years old as a busboy at a Due Torres restaurant in Long Island, New York, and sort of worked my way up through the ranks, never thinking that I was going to be in restaurants by any means. But sort of through college and different things, I ended up in the restaurant industry. Not too long ago, I was, how I ended up meeting Doug Stritzel, who's the founder and current CEO of Pickleman's. I was hired at Wendy's and started off as a general manager. Doug and I worked together. I became a district manager, became a director of operations. Doug left about a year after I was there and became and opened up a little shop called Pickleman's in Columbia, Missouri in 2005. And I took over his spot as the operating partner, and I became a franchisee with my partner there. And we had at the time 12 Wendy's and 2 Tim Hortons. I stayed with him for 15 years as a partner, built it up to ending up with 29 restaurants. We ended up with 14 Wendy's and 5 Tim Hortons restaurants. And that's what I did the franchising thing for a while. Then like sometimes some marriages just don't work out. Well, my partnership and his didn't end up working out. So we broke up a little bit at that point after 15 years. I went over and became a regional director for a Hardee's chain in South Carolina. And then I was left there and became a vice president of operations for a 45-unit Burger King chain. And one night, this is about 20 years after Doug and I first met, I get a call at about 11 o'clock at night that said, "Hey," and I'm like, "Is this Doug Stritzel?" He's like, "Yeah." And I said, "Doug, are you all right? It's 11 o'clock at night." He goes, Yeah, I'm fine." He goes, "I was just thinking about you, and I really want to expand this brand and would love to have you come on board and be our chief operating officer for us." So about 3 years ago, it'll be 3 years in January, I came on board with Pickleman's. And, so I spend a lot of time on the franchisee end. Understand the needs of the franchisees because I was one, and have been working hard to meet the needs here for the franchisees we have.
So you're in charge of franchising now, but you're a founder. You're a founder of Pickleman's. Did I
No,
follow?
I'm not the founder. I am not the founder. Doug Stritzel was the founder.
Okay.
He founded Pickleman's back in 2005. I'm the chief operating officer for him. So he and I got together after he founded this in 2005 in Columbia.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, gotcha. So what's kind of your role then as chief operating officer? What goes into all of that?
My thing is I'm sort of the conduit between the franchisees and the franchisor. I make sure that there's good communication happening, that they have the tools and training, and we have the systems in place for them to be very successful, to run great Pickleman's restaurants, and also to make a lot of money on their end. I also, my team and me, we touch all parts of the whole thing, from marketing to the construction, all the parts of it. And again, we also foster the communication back and forth between the franchisees and the franchisor. When I first came on board 3 years ago, we had there are two marching orders. I went and visited with each of the franchisees and visited all of our current locations, which was 24 at the time. And I just sat down and said, "What are your pain points? What do you need help with?" Number one, they didn't like our they didn't like our current POS system, and they thought it was failing. And number two, they thought that they didn't have a lot of say in how the how Pickleman's was happening. So number one, the two things I said I needed to do is we need to fix the communication problem, and number two, we need a much better tech stack. So you had mentioned SpotOn. SpotOn, I brought on SpotOn to be our POS provider, and as of the 12th of this month, we've it's been for anyone who's turned over a POS system, it's quite a heavy lift on everybody from our end to our franchisees. But about a year and a half later, we were able to move all of our franchisees from their current POS over the SpotOn system as of the 12th of this month. So pretty proud of that. And then the other thing we did is about a year ago, I started a thing called Pickle Time, which every month myself and the other C-suite team get together, and all of us report on what's going on in the brand. And then we allow them to have interaction once a month for an hour to talk about what's going on, what's coming up, and what are their concerns. So that's been a big help in trying to get the relationship. And then lastly on that, I was instrumental in helping to get a couple of franchisees to sit on a marketing board where they help to have input into marketing decisions that we do. So every year we have we'll pick two franchisees that come in and give their thoughts, and they represent the rest of the franchisees on our thing to let us know what we can do, how they're doing and some of their thoughts.
Okay, great. And we're certainly hoping your experience with SpotOn has been good so far.
It's been great. The interesting thing is it's not been perfect. They've made mistakes. But it's great because as I told them, I look for relationships and not partnerships. I'm looking for people that understand our business and want to grow with us. So when a mistake is made, though, I always see that's the true test of a relationship. Whether it's a business relationship or even a personal one. How do people respond in times of problems? And I'll tell you, every time that there's been a problem, which there hasn't been a lot, but there was a couple of, there was an outage at one point. And I'll tell you one thing, SpotOn goes above and beyond in fixing the problem that they did, and then making sure that they really do a good diagnosis of what happened, why did it happen, and what they need to do to fix it going forward. And that's all I can ever ask of anyone who's that we're in a relationship with. So we look for people that we can partner with on the long term. So nobody's going to be perfect. We're not perfect, but we want people that are transparent, that own their mistakes, make it right, and then learn from them.
You have a vast amount of franchising experience. As a franchisee, you talked about it earlier. What is it about being a franchisee that was particularly appealing to you?
I like being my own business owner without being in business by myself. Um, like Doug, Doug had to come up with the concept. I mean, yes, he borrowed from some of his experiences in the past to create Picklemans. However, he had to create everything. Being a franchisee, there's already a brand that is successful and they already have systems. And, one of the things I'm very good at is one, learning how a system works, refining systems, and then most importantly, getting a good team that can execute. I think really when you have a good franchise brand that you get with, if the test at that point is, can you execute it? And franchisees that do well know how to execute the brand and know the people piece. Franchisees that struggle tend to struggle with that.
You mentioned, you talked to some franchisees and they voiced some concerns to you and you listened to them and acted on what they had to say. How important is that when it comes to a company that deals with franchisees?
I think it's the number one thing. If you don't listen to the people who, they're your investors, they're your customers. So at the end of the day, but they're also, it's a unique relationship, the franchisee one, because you're so embedded with each other. Because and one of the things, sometimes there was a thought, hey, hey, why are you guys doing this? You're making it harder on us. Well, at no point I had to make sure that I educated people that it would be not to our interest to do things that are contrary to the franchisees. Because at the end of the day, if they're not successful, then they don't want to build more restaurants. And if they don't build more restaurants, that doesn't help us or doesn't attract other people to want to build and join us. So we always want to. Now, do we always hit it on the mark? No, we don't. But, I think one of the things I truly believe is we're better together than we are apart. And if you look at some even big franchise brands, I won't mention, but just lately you see there's an antagonistic work between the two. They're always fighting against each other, and the brand always struggles because of that. Where brands really go well is when the franchisees and the franchisors really work together to make the brand great. And now, are we always going to agree? No, we're not. It's just like a family. I mean, I love my wife, but I don't always agree with her, but I still love her and I still need her input. And I want, we work together to make a great family. It's the same thing in the business world. When I was a franchisee, I had a number of people who worked with me, and, I always prided myself. And one of the things I like to do is I'd go in and talk to the guy who's making the sandwiches at Wendy's and say, well, how do you think about this new product? How could, what could we do to make your job easier? What would be better for you? And so many times you find out the guys who are doing it can tell you a lot of stuff if you just want to listen. And it's the same thing. It's even more important or is just as important to go to your franchisees and listen to what they're saying, because they're the guys, especially in our system where we only have when I first came here, we had no corporate restaurants. So all the operations were run by the franchisees. Now we have one corporate restaurant, and I think it's good to have some corporate restaurants so we can get the same feel that they have. But, whether we have corporate restaurants or not, it's important to get their opinions, listen to them. We don't always have to agree, and we may not even act. But I think most people want to know that they're being listened to and they're being taken seriously. And when you do that, they can be understanding that not everything that they suggest is going to happen, but they do want to know that you care about them and you care about what they have to say.
So beyond kind of that personal type relationship where you're definitely interested in working together with the franchisee, what makes Pickleman's a good choice among all the opportunities out there for franchising?
Well, I'll tell you, you make a great point. People are, there's a million burger brands out there. There's a million sandwich brands out there. There is. But what Doug has created with Pickleman's is a unique niche. Because, and Doug has, Doug's background, he started with Jimmy John's. And he was their first chief operating officer. So one of the things we have is, and I like to say this, we have the speed and efficiency of a Jimmy John's with the quality, and I would say, I'm probably unbiased, but I'd say some other people, with the quality up there with a Panera Bread. And nobody else really hits that sweet spot perfectly. They can be fast or they can be good.
Mm-hmm.
But we can do both. We can give you a great, I'd say the best gourmet, and there's the reason we call ourselves gourmet sandwiches. If you've had the opportunity, have you ever tried one, Chad?
I have not. No, it's not in my
Too bad. You're gonna have to, because once you try one of our sandwiches, you'll never want to turn back. When I used to work for Tim Hortons, they said, "Do they put something special in that coffee?" Because people keep wanting to come back for that cup of Tim Hortons coffee. Well, that's the same thing at Pickleman's. When you eat a Pickleman sandwich, you want to come back because the quality is so darn good. Also, it's a very easy system to implement. We have good tools. We show you how to do it. It's very simple to do. We have some of the best AUVs in the business. We beat out most of our competition when it comes to average unit volume, and we have a good solid flow through when
Mhm.
you're executing at a good when you're executing the restaurants.
What do you look for in a franchisee?
So a franchisee is somebody that has an understanding of business, that they want to they have a passion for creating something that they can run, but they're looking for maybe some help while doing it. And we want to come alongside those guys that understand, how to, basically how to run a business. We'll help them with some of the basics of how to run they also have to have a passion for people, and a love for because and they're gonna have to work. They have to be willing to put in the time, or find the right people if they want to. We do have an investment model. If you want to come in and hire some people to come in, we'll train your people and we'll teach them how to do it. But it's really got to be a passion for it. We also want people that are willing to invest in their business, invest in their people, that want to be part of a great brand. We're certainly not. We're not a place, if you want to try to scrimp and just do the basic minimums. You've got to be, whether it's your service, you want to be top of the top notch in service, taking care of the guests when they come through, each and every one of them, loving on them. Our tagline is a whole lot of love, one big pickle. So we want to love on our guests. We want to love each other, have a great time together. We want to have people that are, that want to be help with the brand, that want to have input and have a say, and and challenge us to do better, and that are not afraid to be challenged to do better themselves. So that's the fit. There's no one particular. It's a case by case profile, but those are some of the basics that we look for.
So let's say I've got good business savvy, maybe some business experience. I want to have that entrepreneurial. I want to get into the entrepreneurial side of franchising. But I've never done it before. What's one thing that I would learn, that I would only learn from doing it, maybe that I wouldn't know other than from just going to restaurants or being business savvy?
So I think you'll learn that in the restaurant industry, you got to realize that the margins are tight, and you've got to have a real good handle on where where your money is, and you've really got to be a good people developer. If you're not somebody that, because the killer in this business is the people. You've got to learn to identify, train. I use a acronym to help my people and understand. It's called HOTT, HOT. You've got to hire the best people that are available. You've got to do a great orientation with them. You've got to train them very well. and then you've got to treat them like they're a part of your family. You got to treat them really well. And if you do that, then you tend to maintain, because when you get a group of people that have a year or more of seniority with your things start to click. The efficiencies are really there. If you're constantly turning over a staff, you're going to have a much harder time, and you're going to suffer in quality. You're going to suffer in food costs, because your big bills in the restaurant industry is your food and labor cost. There's a lot of other things, but if you food and labor are the big ones to control, and that starts, it starts with your people. If you get people, you get to keep them. They become very efficient. So your labor cost gets better, and then they understand how to manage the food cost by making sure portion control, making sure that they're very aware of what it is, and then they're the ones who build up your sales, because people want to come in not only for our great sandwiches and our pizzas and our we have, because we are mainly a sandwich shop, but we have some of the best pizzas out there. We win awards for our pizza, some great salads, some great mac and cheese bowls that we just rolled out. So we have a little bit of something for everyone that may want to go in there, but it all starts with having great people. And then one of the things that getting into franchising, you'll see that it's easy and it's hard. It's the hardest job. It's easy to understand the concept of it, but it's hard to execute. The execution part of any restaurant business is the toughest part.
So when you have like a motto or whatever you want to call it, a whole lot of love,
Yeah.
how do you kind of ensure that I may walk into one Pickleman's and be like, oh wow, this place is incredible. How do you ensure that the next one I go to, I would feel the kind of that same vibe?
Well, it really begins with you, creating that culture with your people. The franchisee, the franchisee is the main person that creates that culture.
Mhm.
The franchisee either is going to exude that, and when they come in, I say you have a choice. You can either build people up or you can tear them down. You have that choice when you walk in. I tell that to all my leaders and any franchisee. So what do you do if you go in there and you show a whole lot of love and you build up people? Then you're going to have that. You're going to create that culture. If you go in there and you find fault, and when I first started in this industry, I still remember one of my old district managers, they said, the expectation is people know what to do. So don't bother telling them what they're doing right. Make sure you go in there, and your job is to find everything that they do wrong and let them know about it. This is about, 40 something years ago,
Mhm.
but it was interesting how it's changed. And of course, that's a non-workable model, but that was the model, many years ago of an authoritarian, different type of thought process. Um, One of the things I talk to my people about is create a culture, and I say every time you go in there, we're looking to go in there with respect, kindness, and love. That's how we need to treat people. And you'll find if you give people respect, kindness, and love, you'll get respect, kindness, and love back, whether that's your team members, your managers, or your guests that are coming through. When you do that, you create a positive culture, and that positive culture keeps people. And then again, it gets all the different things that you have to have.
Do you think that can have do you think the way a leader treats, his or her staff can be felt by the customer?
Absolutely. I can, to be honest, I've been doing this long enough. I can walk into a restaurant and within 5 minutes, I can tell if there's a good culture. And
Mm.
I think most of us can,
Mm.
just as a consumer, you can walk in and you can feel like, are they having fun? Are there real smiles? I used to say, if you need to tell your people, there was a franchisee that I was working with when I was with Wendy's. And they wanted their people to smile, so they had a thing, smile. They had to put a smile on your face. And I said, I told the franchisee that was a friend of mine. She was learning how to become. She was a new franchisee, and she was asking for my help. So I said, well, if you got to put a card that out there that says smile, you're doing something wrong. You need to create the atmosphere there where the smile is just automatic. So, you can tell. You go in, and if you feel tension and there's There's a lot of things going on because I've been in situations, because this is normal for the industry, especially nowadays. You can be two, three people short, which can be tense a little bit. But how the manager, the leader on the shift, and how it's handled can make all the difference in the world. Because you can be two or three people short, but if everyone's positive about it, then it still runs. Now it may be slower, but if you're honest with the guests and you say, "Hey, I'm really sorry, we're a couple of people short, but we're going to get you as fast as possible," then people know about it. They can decide to stay or go, but then your staff isn't stressed. And people, if they don't have the time, they'll leave, but they're not unhappy with it. Now that you don't want to do that all the time, but again, it can be a positive experience, even in a negative. But you have to be intentional to create that atmosphere in your restaurants.
What are some of your long-term goals then for Pickleman's?
So long-term goals, long-term goals, we need to get to 1,000 restaurants. Where within the next decade, we'd love to be bordering on 1,000. We're praying, we're shooting. I think we have a good shot to get up to upwards to 50 plus restaurants in the next 2 years, with in the next 5 years breaking and well exceeding the 100, the century mark in the restaurant. So that's one of the things. We also, me and my team are working to build a best-in-class tech stack for our restaurants. We, like I said, it started with the core POS system, but we're constantly looking. Right now, we're refining our inventory program to make sure that we have a strong inventory program so they can get great food costs and be able to diagnose that. Follow that up with we're taking our training program from basically a checklist training program into we're bringing on a group called Opus which is a very good learning management system to really help train our crew members all the way up through district managers. And that's going to be followed up with we're going to vet some very good scheduling programs that we can roll out. And then we're constantly looking at because in today's world, having a great tech stack is just it's one of those table stakes that you have to have. So we're constantly looking, we're constantly innovating and making sure about that. And then the other goal is to create a place that everyone is proud of. That Pickleman's is a name that people, customers feel great about, that they come to eat at us. They can feel good about it. And then franchisees and anyone that's available is they just feel proud about being part of this brand. I want everyone that, whether they're a franchisee, a corporate employee, or anyone, to feel very good about being part of this brand. So that's some of my goals.
Yeah, sounds great. How can people find out more if they're interested in maybe just talking about becoming a franchisee? How can they find out more information?
So if they go to our website, www.picklemans.com, and then push the franchising button, there's an opportunity to fill out a very short questionnaire that'll take you into our development team, and somebody will quickly get back with you within probably, certainly within 72 hours, I'd say.
And is that where you can also go if you want to find out more about whether you'd like to have lunch there or not?
Yeah, picklemans.com it'll tell you all of our locations. It'll tell you our menu. It also has our nutritional data, which again, one of the things we're really proud of, and I'd be negligent in not saying it, is we have some of the healthiest foods. One of the goals of our founder is, you see videos like Super Size Me, where the guy ate McDonald's for, I think, a month, and how horrible it was. Well, his goal is that if you eat Picklemans every day for the rest of your life, you're going to be in a good shape. And we go so far as we have our chicken and our pork, our NAE, no antibiotics ever stuff. We just changed out our potato chips to be non-GMO, because our old ones were non-GMO. Then they became, had it. We added that. We're working on getting all the seed oils out of our dressings. We make our dressings in-house. We make our cookies every day fresh in-house. Our bread only has 5 ingredients. So we don't put fillers. We don't, we have an artesian mix. So like our bread, people will say, well, there's a little bit of difference in size of it. Well, that's what happens when you have artesian bread that is made daily and it's fresh. We really go above and beyond to make sure that the guests get quality food in all the cases, and in quality service when they're there.
Very nice. Sounds amazing. So last question for you. So yeah, it sounds like there's an abundance of great choices there at Pickleman's. When you go there as a customer, what's kind of your go-to selection of items?
So my favorite is the Italian Club. It's also the #1 favorite of everyone, and I add giardiniera peppers to it because I like a little spice to it. So the number 11 on wheat. I am a little bit different. I like the wheat, and it's it's wonderful. So it's great, and and if you get a chance, Chad, I don't know where are you out of?
I'm in Colorado.
Well, and funny, our vice president of development lives in Denver. So I think, oh boy, I guess Colorado, maybe Texas, perhaps might be the closest.
I'm going there over the holidays. I'll look for one in San Antonio.
Right, definitely. Huh?
In San Antonio?
No, not yet, but that's an area we're looking at. So we'd love to. No, McKinney, Texas, outside of Dallas.
Okay.
We have in Texas. We just built that, and we just finished up our 32nd restaurant in Yukon, Oklahoma. So
nice. Awesome.
Yeah, so we're really excited, and we've got a bunch on for next year.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Sounds great. Hey, Ken, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for all of your time and your insights. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Chad. Have a great day.
You as well. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.